All right, rolling live from the wasteland outside the survival pod. It's Freedom Phil. What's the topic right now? Is this what retirement's like? What I mean by that? All right. I'm sitting here, and my biggest problem right now is to figure out what I want for dinner. And I've had a day that I can explain feels like I'm basically Peggy Bundy. Yeah, where we going with this? Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Let's get into it. And also, turn up the video speed, because if I choose to upload this, you should be watching this at least at 1.75. I always watch videos faster. Why shouldn't everybody else? Anyhow, the next part, not a channel for children. I talk about whatever I want, and if you're just farming off your parental duties to the screen, you're a shitty parent. And as everyone knows who watches my channel, yeah, if you're a spurg in my fucking chat or a moron, I will call you a robot or retard or whatever the fuck. And some of the people who don't know this, they show up and the first thing they do is they use generic robotic shit. I'm like, hey, look, we got a retard. And there's a reason for that. Because you pay attention. I flog and whip my followers on a regular basis. And the fun ones come back for more. Let's get into it. Oh yeah, one other thing. I only really care about what subscribers have to say. Everybody else is just chaff. So I got up today. I took a good little hike in the early morning, me and the doggo. And then I came back. For the first time in a while, I bothered to make coffee because in the wasteland, I don't frankly need coffee. Coffee's more of something you need if you're a working person. Oh, it's a killer sunset, right? Yeah, made coffee, watched a little of the news, 8-ish, 9-ish, played video games. 10 o'clock, made sure to click off of the YouTube videos to watch The Price is Right, while I was playing video games. Secret of Mana, by the way. I bought the Mana collection for the Switch. And then, I'm just kind of sitting there and just playing video games, and after Secret of Price is Right comes on, it goes over to, what's the show? A-Team at 11. After that, in the heat of the night for an hour, and then switch over to Cozy TV for 4 hours of Married with Children. Is it 4 hours? No, it's 3 hours. Then it's about 4 o'clock. At that point, I figure I might as well take a bath. Good time. Everything's kind of warmed up out here. Not too cold, not too hot. Go to bed clean, And then my biggest problem is what to make for dinner. Usually, if when you're looking forward to something, so you have a plan for it. Back in the old days when I used to go out to eat more. Sometimes there'd be a buffet, for instance. Like a good Chinese buffet. And I would look forward to going to that all week. Like the weekend, Saturday buffet, nighttime, with all the seafood as well and the sushi. I don't do buffets much anymore. I don't do restaurants, to be honest. Partially because they cost too much. So really, a lot of times, for me anymore, it's funny, actually, when I bum change, I eat more fast food bumming change, not because I'm buying it, but because I have the sign up that says, Dog loves burgers. And if I'm next to a taco joint, Dog loves tacos. You need to make the sign that says, for chicken joints, Dog loves chicken, or Dog dreams of chicken. I live a very laid-back life. And it's kind of hard for people, to convince me that this is bad. The only bad part about my life is, not to say humans all the time, but humans. Like, humans bring problems. Like, if it's just me doing my thing, like if I need to go get more river water, I don't drink it, but, I use it for domestics. Like backwoods bidet, fuck. I only use about 1/3 of a gallon of water to bathe. And what's left over is used for the backwoods bidet. And if I'm not drinking, God, I don't have to use the bathroom for anywhere from 2 to 4 days. So it's like I actually bathe more, you have more excess leftover water. Like, I really don't have problems out here. And the drinking, I do it as I feel like it. Sometimes I do it a bit more than I should. And then I go without it for a long while. And funny thing is, I don't get bad hangovers. When I used to drink beer, I used to get worse hangovers from beer than I ever did from vodka. And I'd smoke weed if not for the fact that I'm thinking of going back to working this next spring. I make no guarantees, although I should. But I think to myself as I just have this leisurely life of good TV and video games, hiking in the early morning when it's cold out. That way, less heated, less sweat. Take off, basically pack the backpack and, pack extra water for me and the doggo, pack a dog bowl for him. Maybe there's the long hikes we've done where there was one day we were out for 4 or 5 hours out here doing this huge loop. And on the way back, I packed like 3 gallons of water from the river. My dog's acting like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, dude, you're not even carrying the weight. But then there's the casual hikes where I just kind of go, up to the ancient way up there. Walk up there and maybe walk up to up on a hill that I've never walked up on before. When I say hill, it's kind of, rolling wasteland hills out here like this, not the foothills. And it's like, that's a good day for the most part. And one might say, don't you ever get tired of it? Yeah, there are times I feel that time can go a bit too fast. Like, I realize that in another 2 months or so, I'll be looking for a company. I'll be looking for another starter company because even with 9 years of experience, it all has to be current or they treat you like fresh meat. But yeah, man, if it wasn't for the fact that I want to go out and drive again, and I know once I get back into it, I'll be back into it like normal. It'll be the usual grind. And I actually like driving truck. But once I'm back into the saddle, it'll be what I'm doing for however many years. But this is just so fucking laid back. And, I get it. It's not for everybody. I mean, you tell most people, cooking with a rocket stove or, backwoods bidet, actually, and I honestly think I fucking hate toilet paper. I'm just going to point that out. Once you get used to using a backwoods bidet, you're like, why the fuck did we ever do this out? The toilet paper is just disgusting. It is. It's fucking gross, and it's a waste of materials. And the whole thing of, like, just bathing in a bucket. I get that what I do would seem very third world to a lot of people. But I don't really have to care about everybody else's thoughts on it. Just like I don't expect you don't have to care either. Isn't that the beautiful thing? See, that's what freedom's supposed to be. We're supposed to have the freedom to live as laid back as we feel like it. That's what I think's interesting about the world. And it's funny because it's like there's times where I look around and I think to myself, I'd like to buy another piece of property here and there. There's a place about 130 miles from here that I've thought about getting some land for a summer spot. Have to make sure that I can park and camp on my own property. Have to see the regulations, the laws, and all that. Get the permits and all that. Make sure you don't have to punt. If they tell me you got to put a well in and a septic, I'm like, well, fuck that. I might as well just be an outlander. The only reason I actually want to get any sort of property, other than the properties I already own, is simply because someday all of this they may say, no, you can't camp out in the wilderness. It's day use only, which that's what the Northwest has done. So, you buy some property so you can camp on your own property and be left the fuck alone. But if it wasn't for that factor, that possible reality, no, I'd never even buy property. I just camp forever long and middle of nowhere, and they say, you can camp somewhere for 2 weeks, and then you got to move 25 miles. But out here in the wasteland, nobody gives a shit. You'd be out here, unless you're causing a problem, that's what I've noticed, unless you start causing problems for people, like you're some fucking strung out junkie or something, causing issues with the sheriff, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's just awesome. And it used to be that way up in the Northwest. That's why I bought that lot up there in Washington. Actually, it's 2 lots connected. Eventually, I'll probably sell off my holdings up there in the Rocky Mountain State, the house and the lot near the river. Might keep the lot near the river. It's just, that one's got a really good view. But all the same, I look at it and I think to myself, if I'd known the things that I know now, about like how little I can live off of, about how basically most people will fail you, that there are only a few good people in your life, if any. If I'd known this shit when I was a lot younger, I would have saved so much time. And when I always say to people, retirement by 30, it's a reality that I know that I could have, at 7 to 10 years, I could have pulled it off back then. So whether you're 20, 30, 40, 7 to 10 years, you can be fully retired in America. But if I'd known back then, the way, like when I say there are very few good people in your life, most good people that say good things to you say nice things, but nice things don't really do anything. And the people that are neutral, well, they have their own problems, so they don't have time to care about your problems, which is fair enough. And the people that hate you, well, obviously they were never going to do any good for you. But the irony being is that really, as a man, most of your life is you alone trudging against existence. And really it comes down to how much weight do you want to carry in that backpack? How many boulders do you want to put in that backpack? And that's how I see a lot of what the ask of the average person these days. Now, if you're a normal person, domesticated type, and you get a cheap house somewhere in the Midwest or something, and you check out and you're perfectly cool with your house, maybe do a lipstick remodel on it, that's one way to be. Maybe you've got a couple pieces of property where you can have RVs, and seasonally you're here or you're there. That's another way to be. And I get there are some people that none of this would apply to them, and they'll still try to keep up with the Joneses, the cars, the trips, the lifestyle, and that'd be the way they be. But I think I, like some of the others out there, I've been ghosting in plain sight for years. I've been a MGTOW for God knows how long. One of the forbidden peoples. And I can tell you, I merely just adjusted to what I consider a kind of crap reality. Instead of just accepting the turd sandwich, the Al Bundy, where you just keep on trudging to work for a bunch of ungrateful fucks, I just said no. And then it comes down to, once you're free and you're liberated, basically have to figure out what to do with the rest of your fucking life, man. And when you're not working and you're just out here chilling in the wasteland or the woods or wherever, I mean, to tell you the truth, a lot of the reason I like bumming change, it's not really I really need the money so much, it's just I fucking love doing it. It's a rush, man. Like fishing, where you're out there and you kind of scope out the fishing hole and all that, or like you're a hunter and you're kind of looking at the area, checking out the turf, kind of get a feeling for it. Fucking shake the ass, move the sign, end up with $100 to $300 in 4 to 5 hours. That's what's funny when people are like, YouTube, you think you're going to get rich on YouTube? No, I don't. I am never going to make money on YouTube. I could make like some dollars and some shekels. I could maybe even pay my bills on it, but no, I have no illusions that YouTube will ever pay. But yeah, once you're out of the game, it really is kind of like what I explained earlier. Just like, okay, take a good hike in the morning, then go out and, check out what's on TV, play some video games, cook some food, maybe make some coffee, you know? And then just chillax, man. No problems, no issues, no worries. You know, maintain, look at your accounts, check out what's going on. Yeah. And honestly, if I was more mobile, like if I was going to be more of a mobile guy, I'd be hiking probably all over the place. Who knows? Maybe that'll be my actual retirement. But yeah, sometimes when I look back at some of my buddies who faked crazy, the thing that I noticed with them is that it becomes a matter of how much can you not spend. So they end up like just sitting around. Like one of my buddies who was the crown jewel of faking crazy. He took acid and thought he was God. He really did. It was hilarious. And then they're like, but you can't be God. And you big moony acid eyes. Can you prove I'm not? And that guy got a free apartment. The guy was actually really smart with computers. And I remember I was like, dude, you got a bus pass. You got a bike. Go out and enjoy this shit. I was a garbage man back then, paying off my first house. And I was like, dude, go out and live it. You could hit 2 buses and be out to Claylock. Be out there on the beach. You could, oh, I don't want to. That is one of the curses of winning too young, because we are so driven. It's like when poor people are often driven by the desire for what they want but can't afford, and then they get stupid with their money when they get it. Or just like old people that are retirees, they never spend a fucking cent because they're like, we don't know how long we're going to live. So they did all this work and they don't even really enjoy it. A guy that's faked crazy and living on the system, like at least 5 of my friends did. I kind of regret that I didn't. I look at that and I'm like, man, you could go out there and just fucking have the time of your life, traveling the country, whether it was like hitchhiking, hitching mass transit, or even if you just had a little gas efficient car, you could fucking have the time of your life. And if you could, like, I can live off $200 to $300 a month, and if I could pull that off, God, imagine what you could do if you just had $1,000 coming in a month. Oh, sweet Jesus. But yeah, it comes back to, so is this retirement? I guess. Well, let's read the comments. You gotta change your name back, change the picture back, dude. I don't do all this, like, fucking rotating name shit. I don't do that. That's just gay. Okay, yeah, man. It sucks when people die at the fucking job. Being a trucker, I totally understand that. We lose a driver every so often in every company I worked at. Sometimes there's usually natural causes, but every once in a while there'll be a catastrophe. Yeah, that's kind of funny when I deal with these military guys and they're like, did you serve your country? I'm like, no, I didn't get duped into fucking going overseas for a fucking bullshit war. People get all pissed off about that. Then I remind them, why don't you add up how many truckers died keeping this country going over the last 20 years versus how many soldiers died in Iraq and Afghanistan? Let's get back to who's really taking a fucking risk, Junior. Especially when the guy I was talking to was a base bitch. He wasn't in combat. He was, support crap, or whatever you want to call it. I always get a kick out of some of those. I mean, by the way, just so people know, I got mad respect for some of the guys that are actually, real warriors, real heroes, and all that crap. But there's a lot of people out there, just like that old country song, where you got, it's not just the soldiers. How about the welders? How about the truckers? How about the plumbers? How about the guys digging the coal out of the hill or the steel? How about the guys making it into metal? How about the guy building the bridge to build the infrastructure so this beautiful machine called America can make it to where we can have this beautiful civilization and, we can have the ability to produce the military we have. I mean, there's a lot of people I've run into out there. There's this weird thing we do when it comes to soldiers where we were like, thank you for your service. And by the way, you really want to thank soldiers for their service. Start fighting for better rights for these soldiers when they get out of the service. where the VA isn't a fucking joke. And maybe housings, some of these homeless vets out there on the streets, they can actually get into housing. Don't say thank you. Be thankful and actually do something. Otherwise, all it is just virtue signaling. But I could say the same thing for, how about all the guys out there that were worked into an early grave or worked into being crippled by their jobs? How about being a little thankful to them? And the answer for that, generally, people is like, well, that sucks to be you, and it's just like, that's part of the reason I tell a lot of people, the earlier you can get out of this whole working thing, retirement by 30. Go out there, work as hard as possible, saving, and don't just work any job. Get some to trade, get a trucking, get something that pays you some money, and then live as cheap as possible, and then invest when you're young so compound interest makes you money. But, I say all that because I just see a lot of guys where I grew up that wasted their fucking lives. Paying interest payments, paying mortgage payments, paying whatever fucking payments, and all to keep a bunch of people happy that generally half-ass appreciated them. Because ain't nobody care more about you than you. Even if you got a family, they got problems. You got friends, they're friends until it's inconvenient. And that same thing goes for the family. Your churches, most of your people will leave you in the dust when it becomes unpopular or inconvenient. You gotta think about you, because only you care about you. Anyhow, as the sun's going down, seems like it's about the right time to start still figuring out what I want to make for dinner. Maybe make some delicious ramen, or do something. I don't fucking know. Anyhow, this is Freedom Phil. Y'all take it easy. Peace.